Captain Forrest here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over both of these combatants to see who would win more often than not in an inverse situation, Colossus versus She-Hulk. Now if you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Colossus, I'm going to move over to She-Hulk afterwards, and then I'm going to give my overall thoughts on who I think wins more often than not in an inverse situation. Now, let's talk about Colossus's feats and some of the things he's done over the years. So, some feats for Colossus that comes to mind was his encounters with Hulk. We've seen Colossus physically hurt a suppressed Savage Hulk, and in World War Hulk, during the storyline, Colossus and the X-Men do battle with Green Scar Hulk. Colossus is able to physically hurt this suppressed Green Scar Hulk, and we are aware of the fact that Green Scar Hulk pretty much defeated Colossus in their encounter. However, thanks to a statement from Green Scar Hulk, he establishes that in the past, Colossus would have been a decent opponent for him. Now this gives us an idea of where we can kind of downscale Colossus to, and gives us a decent quantification for him. There's some more impressive feats for Colossus, where it comes from the time where he punched Archon and sent him flying. This very same Archon is able to harm and go to blows with Hercules, which is pretty impressive. Another feat comes from the time where Colossus was able to take out Wendigo, who is shown and stated to be as strong as the Hulk. Colossus is also shown to destroy a robot that was literally beating the absolute brakes out of Namor, and Colossus has taken and endured attacks from War Machine with no difficulty, and he's able to defeat War Machine. Colossus is able to also send the Guardian flying and also tank a blast from him. Guardian notes that the power from his suit and his training together makes him equal to any Avenger. Now you can take that as how you will, take it with a pinch of salt or take it at face value, but that's a pretty decent statement. So Colossus also has another feat where he was able to easily tank a cosmic ray blast from Havoc, and this is actually impressive as it's stated that Havoc draws on an infinite power of cosmic rays when using his mutant powers. And there's another showing for Colossus when he was able to easily overpower and neutralize Helion's telekinetic assaults. Now that's going to wrap up AP for Colossus. I'm going to talk about some speed. Now you can downplay Colossus to some characters such as Hulk, Juggernaut, and Namor, and even Gladiator in terms of speeds, as Colossus is shown to go blow for blow, and he's able to match them in speed. Now I have addressed this before in my other videos, but pretty much Colossus would scale anywhere from the lower ends of MFTL plus or FTL if you want to stick with that level, and you can even argue some immeasurable speed ranges for him. That's going to wrap up stats. I'm going to go ahead and talk about Colossus's mutant powers. So Colossus's mutant powers allows him to turn his whole body, including his organs and vital areas on his body, into a strong organic steel that is very durable. While Colossus is in this state, he gains a small form of invulnerability, increased stamina and endurance, and all other attributes. It also grants him some form of self-sustenance. While he's in his steel form, he does not need to eat and he does not need to breathe, which is very impressive. Colossus's steel body is also bulletproof, as bullets ricochet off his body instead. Colossus's steel body also grants him protection and resistance to heat, and he is able to resist his life force from being drained from his body while inside his form. His steel body can also take a repulsor blast equivalent to Iron Man's, which can also destroy you down to a subatomic level. And just like all of Charles Xavier's trained X-Men, Colossus has resistance to mind hacks, and he's also shown to physically hurt beings made out of pure energy. When it comes to combat situations, Colossus is very cunning. He's shown to use his environment to his advantage, such as ripping off trees or steel girders to whoop his opponents with. Colossus, believe it or not, is quite skilled and tactical in his own right. He trained the new X-Men and taught them about working as a coherent team. He's also pointed out flaws such as not allowing emotions to disrupt one's focus and understand the intentions of his enemies. Colossus has also sparred with Sunspot, teaching him to always be aware of his surroundings. Colossus was also trained by Nightcrawler, Storm, and Wolverine in skill, and he's demonstrated it in fights, especially against big heavy hitters like the Hulk. Colossus has also demonstrated to take advantage of situations where his opponent's guard is lowered, allowing him to rebalance the situation into his favor. And lastly, Colossus is a monster and he's very relentless. Colossus has used his willpower to push through a clone of Havoc's blast to smash him with a steel girder. So that's going to pretty much round up Colossus. I'm going to go ahead and move on and talk about She-Hulk and see what she brings to the table. She-Hulk has demonstrated to physically dominate and hurt Captain Marvel while she was in her binary form. We've also seen She-Hulk physically hurt a suppressed Green Scar Hulk and make him bleed. and we've even seen She-Hulk send a suppressed Immortal Hulk flying. Now, if you folks haven't seen my Captain Marvel video on Korin's channel, I go into incredible detail about the scaling for Carol. I will leave a link in the description, but for the sake of this video, I will briefly go over some feats. So these feats that She-Hulk performs are very impressive because Carol, she has fought against King Thor and was able to physically hurt King Thor and make him exert more in their fight. She was also able to absorb his lightning, which powered her up into binary, and she used that energy to take him out, which is very impressive. Another showing that she also performed, which is also cool, is that she was able to BFR Thor's hammer and prevent it from coming back to him, which is also an impressive feat as well. Carol and Wonder Man have a little history going on, and in fact, they fought each other a good couple times. It's been demonstrated that Carol is able to take attacks and physically hurt and send a mind-controlled and bloodlusted Wonder Man flying into next week. Wonder Man has been stated by Captain America to be Sentry level. This would more so be referring to the Sentry that fought Green Skull Hulk. Carol was able to physically hurt a pissed off Sentry with just one punch. Now, however, for context, and we need to keep in mind here folks, that both Wonder Man and Carol do not fully scale to Sentry, but it's still impressive, and I wanted to mention this in this video. Carol has also fought Wonder Man again later on in the comics for the second time. She was able to take and endure an ionic energy attack from Wonder Man. Now, Carol was actually trying to help Wonder Man, who was enraged. She was trying to reason with him, but nonetheless, this is still impressive because they perform one more final clash, and unfortunately, Carol does come a little bit short, but this is still impressive for Carol nonetheless, that she has traded some fists with these characters. So all these feats that I've mentioned, you're probably wondering why this is all impressive. Well, you're about to find out right now. Thor has demonstrated some phenomenal feats throughout the comics, even before becoming king. For starters, we've seen Eric Masterson Thor clash with another Thor from the future. Their clash produced energy that simultaneously affected all planes of reality and stretched across the entire cosmos. The Asgardian god of thunder shivered the 9 realms during his battle with the Midgard serpent. Asgard on its own is beyond space, time, and all known dimensions and mortal man's wildest dreams of reality. In fact, a quantum cosmologist doesn't understand the true nature of what Asgard is. Thor is strong enough to dent the Silver Surfer's forehead. We've seen a serious Silver Surfer contend with Loki. This same Loki is capable of simultaneously affecting every conceivable astral and metaphysical plane. Loki also stated that the Silver Surfer is no match for Thor. Wonder Man is capable of fighting Hercules. Hercules himself has noted that Simon is also a rival to Thor in terms of strength. We've seen Wonder Man also go at it with Hyperion. Keep in mind, Hyperion himself survived the destruction of 2 entire universes. One day, his universe and another started colliding. While he was trying to prevent the destruction of his reality, he was left in a void his destroyed universe once occupied, floating in nothingness. There are numbers greater than infinity, and just like in mathematics, a universe is trans-infinite, existing infinities higher than the other infinities. A universe comprised a whole multiverse and the metaversal spaces. A serious unstable Sentry stalemated a suppressed Green Skull Hulk, although Green Skull Hulk wasn't as suppressed as he was when he went up against the likes of the X-Men, Juggernaut, She-Hulk, and Iron Man. So yeah, in terms of attack potency and in turn durability, Carol is certainly not lacking. So why don't we move on down to speed? As for speed, She-Hulk ranges from MFTL plus infinite speed to immeasurable speed. She-Hulk is fast enough to tag and ragdoll Carol. Carol has kept pace and reacted to the likes of Thor. Thor himself has blitzed Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer has demonstrated some low-end impressive finite speed scaling. The Silver Surfer casually flew through 500,000 light years in a short time frame. He easily crossed galactic distances in a panel. Silver Surfer has crossed the universe in a short period of time on more than one occasion. These are finite speed feats if we lowball the size of the universe, but infinite if we go to the consistent infinitely large universe route. Another infinite speed feat also comes from Thor himself, where Thor was able to hear a prayer from a universe away After hearing the prayer, Thor demonstrates that he is fast enough to cross the universe within a couple minutes. The universes in Marvel Comics, as mentioned, are infinitely large, which would mean Thor traveled an infinite distance in a finite amount of time. Thor has also demonstrated that he is able to blitz Silver Surfer, who can time travel with his raw speed alone. Okay, so that's going to round up She-Hulk's stats. I'm going to go ahead and move on to her other impressive showings and abilities. Just like her cousin Bruce Banner / the Hulk, she gains some of his gamma-imbued powers after undergoing a blood transfusion. Just like the Hulk, the more angrier She-Hulk becomes, the more powerful she becomes. Her physiology, though not quite on the same level as her cousin, the Hulk, it's still impressive regardless. Her metabolism is unique and her body weight prevents her from getting drunk. She can survive longer in space than a normal human, as her lung capacity is larger than any normal humans, and She-Hulk does not tire. She-Hulk is able to absorb gamma radiation, and it also amplifies her. She-Hulk is acrobatic and can leap to high places. Her skin can also ricochet bullets, and she's also able to heal as well from injuries. She-Hulk is pretty skilled, believe it or not. After 3 months of training with Gamora, She-Hulk beats the champion. The champion has mastered the combat forms and martial arts of thousands of races and has practiced and perfected his skill. We even see She-Hulk invent her own fighting style called Shulk Fu, as she embarrasses Abomination with her skill and uses a lot of weapon improvisation. She also knows pressure point techniques such as the Centurion Nerve Strike to paralyze her opponents. Captain America is even impressed by She-Hulk's level of skill, and She-Hulk is no stranger when it comes to resorting to underhanded tactics. She-Hulk is stated to be a crack shot with a ray gun, showing great proficiency and accuracy, as She-Hulk's blasts are able to destroy each individual missile in a row. And lastly, She-Hulk can perform the signature thunderclap. As for resistances, Jennifer is able to transform into She-Hulk despite being sedated, despite the radiation slowly wearing She-Hulk down. Her strong willpower allows her to push through a high blast of microwaves, which was wearing her down, to get to her opponent. Radius, one of She-Hulk's enemies back in the classic days, has the ability to manipulate and vibrate the molecules in any object or living being. In fact, attempted to manipulate She-Hulk's molecular structure. This, however, did not work, as She-Hulk has control over her own molecular structure. She-Hulk has taken a repulsor blast from Iron Man's suit. This very same repulsor blast can destroy things on a subatomic level. She-Hulk can tank mind attacks and cellular destruction, as a mental blast from Doc was not enough to shatter Torque's consciousness and shear every single cell in his body. And on another occasion, She-Hulk fought off Moondragon's mind attack. She-Hulk is also demonstrated to fight out of Gargoyle's petrification, as her metabolism was able to kick in and pretty much thaw her out of this petrification. She can also tell if she's under a hallucination, as she's able to see through Mysterio's illusions and ignore them. She-Hulk has taken Hellfire. As mentioned before in previous videos, Hellfire burns the soul to ash, and she also has really good survivability, as she's able to survive in harsh cold environments. She-Hulk has instinctive reaction, as she instinctively throws a crane into the air, and she's also demonstrated precognition in battle, predicting when Tony Stark would try to attack her. Now, this is something that She-Hulk actually has in her disposal. She-Hulk has plot manipulation and fourth wall awareness. She-Hulk demonstrates some of these hacks, such as ripping off the comic and removes Madcap from the plot and throws him in the trash. She can interact with the plot and comic also, and go to different comic panels too. She's also demonstrated to interact with notations and speech bubbles too. She-Hulk can even leave the plot of her own story, and she can rejoin it whenever she wants. That's going to wrap up both these combatants. I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts on who I think wins more often than not in an inverse situation. So She-Hulk and Colossus, both very powerful combatants in their own right. Colossus has shown decent feats in his own right, as well as She-Hulk. Now, when we look at statements and some feats, and going back to the statement of Guardian, where he states that he has the powers and the tools and the training to match any Avenger, and you have Colossus being able to harm and overpower Guardian. It's impressive. It's a very good statement. However, it's contradicted later on when we look at current comics, because we know in Marvel, power scaling, it's always fluctuating, and that was back in classic days. You know, classic day scaling, you know, you have to look at current stuff. It's always nice to reference that stuff, but you have to look to see if the statements, you know, hold up to their credibility. And we literally see Colossus do battle with Thor, and Colossus gets absolutely bukakied by Thor. Thor literally compares Colossus' speed to an elderly mountain troll, which is absolutely embarrassing, honestly. So he's basically calling Colossus slow, and he pretty much one taps Colossus, no difficulty. Whereas you have Captain Marvel literally being able to defeat Thor in combat, and She-Hulk herself is able to physically woman handle and physically harm Captain Marvel in her Hulk state, which is very impressive. And another thing that She-Hulk benefits as well, you know, with her being obviously a Hulk herself in her own right, she also gets rage boosts, rage amps. So when she gets mad, she gets stronger. So she gets also a lot more stronger in AP too. So she'd basically be able to outmuscle Colossus. Colossus doesn't have that luxury. He doesn't have a way to increase his AP. And another encounter as well that I wanted to talk about with the whole situation of Colossus doing battle with Savage Hulk, when he punches a calm Savage Hulk. Once Savage Hulk started getting angry, once his rage boost started kicking in, Colossus literally states that his attacks weren't doing any damage at all at that point afterwards. So that also solidifies that if obviously She-Hulk, once she starts getting mad and she starts increasing in power, she's just going to, you know, outshine Colossus. Literally, I see her just bending him into a literal pretzel. So more often than not, I gotta give victory to She-Hulk. She has more credibility when it comes to feats and statements. She's able to hurt Captain Marvel. She's actually battled Sentry as well, which is also impressive. And her fights with Bruce, of course, her cousin, she's been able to actually damage Bruce, make his nose bleed, actually make him spit blood. Even if he is suppressed, he, you know, just looking at performance wise, Colossus gets folded immediately, while She-Hulk is able to actually lay a few digs in before she loses. And another thing as well for She-Hulk, she's also shown to fight Hulk's rogue gallery. She's able to damage Abomination, who's also very impressive too. Abomination is actually a very powerful low tier, I would say, for the heavy hitters, one of Hulk's rogue gallery, and She-Hulk is just very powerful in that regard. She would just upscale to a lot of other characters when it comes to AP. So more often than not, gotta give victory to She-Hulk. I'd say mid difficulty, just due to the fact that Colossus is just, his tenacity is insane, so he will keep trying to slug it out with She-Hulk. But once She-Hulk stops messing around, obviously she doesn't really like to mess around, but when she wants to break somebody, she will definitely do that to Colossus and punch holes in him and pretty much turn him into a metal pretzel. So I gotta give victory to She-Hulk in this one. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, tell me what you think, leave me your thoughts on the comment section. Who do you think wins more often than not in an inverse situation? But anyway, that's gonna conclude this video. It's been real. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.